There we go.
All right, good evening. This is our public hearing, 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. Meeting order and acknowledge that the press and the public were duly notified of the public hearing in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Nicole, you want to do a roll call for us, please?
Sure. Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
Councilmember Myers. Here. Councilmember Popson.
Here.
Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson. Here. Councilmember Goshen.
Here.
Councilmember Hahn.
Here.
Mayor Pounds.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is public comments, and just a quick reminder about our AV system. We have kind of back-ended the system tonight, so hopefully it's going to work. John's hooked us up a temporary speaker. We're in the middle of transitioning our whole AV system in here, so hopefully by next week's council meeting, we'll be live and full functioning. So just speak loud, speak into the speaker, and hopefully we'll be good tonight. So just a quick reminder on our protocol for a public hearing. It's to review the ordinances at a high level that are being considered, and then let the public speak without any discussion from the council. So before we get to public comments, I'd like to ask Douglas to briefly review the process and ordinances. Then we'll have public comments. We only have 9 speakers tonight. So what I would suggest is we keep our process consistent with other meetings, keeping the 3-minute limit to allow for as many residents and citizens to speak that want to, and then we let those 9 go. Then it open up to anyone that didn't sign up or that may want to speak, certainly in the overflow crowd upstairs as well. We have full house upstairs. And then we'll let the original 9 come back for any additional comments if they ran out of time or have additional things they would like to say. So Douglas. Give it a try.
Light just came on.
The light just came.
Oh, it's into my 3 minutes. Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor has stated, these ordinances that we are looking at tonight deal with the Wild Dunes PRD. They are specifically in reaction to council's September 27th direction, where the council directed the staff to initiate changes in the zoning code that would have the effect of limiting the development allowed within Wild Dunes to today's current levels. There are 5 different ordinances that have been developed, but there are really 2 concepts that are being kind of embraced or that are going to be affected by these 5 ordinances. The first 3 ordinances have to do with changing the zoning map. They will be changing, and there's a image of the map behind me and out in the hallway that capture these changes. But the first 3 ordinances deal with rezoning the 12 parcels that make up the Wild Dunes Golf Course. Part of that golf course is inside the Wild Dunes gates, part is outside, and the Wild Dunes tennis facilities. And it rezones those to a new district. That new district is called the CR district, which stands for the Conservation Recreation District. Conservation Recreation. And this is really a modification of an existing district, which is called the CO district. So it's changing that district. The second strategy is dealing with the text of the codes that we have, and it will be reducing the number of units allowed in the PRD from 2449 down to 2119 for dwelling units, and in units down from 350 to 297. And those are really the second of the 5 ordinances. Those are the last 2. Any questions from the council on things that were missed on a technical level? If not, I will just talk about from here. We will have a second public hearing that will be 2 weeks from today at November 1st at the Recreation Center. And there will also be a Planning Commission recommendation that will be November 9th here. And after those two are finished, the final step will be to come back to council for second reading and ratification. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Nicole, public comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I could real quick, just to reiterate what Douglas said, because there's some confusion about this. Some people have asked us to have a second reading tonight, and we can't do that by ordinance. What Douglas just spelled out is the way we have to do this. That's the procedure. So we have the ordinance, we have public comment, and y'all have commented hundreds of emails. We thank you for all of those. And we will have a second public comment section, and then it goes to the planning commission, and they take all of the public comments and the ordinances and everything that comes out of these meetings, and then they give us a recommendation. And that's the only time that we can do a second reading. So I would urge everybody that's interested in this process, and obviously y'all are, to talk to your neighbors and get information to this process and to the planning commission that will ultimately be sending their recommendations to council. So that's the process. It's slow, it's cumbersome, but that's what it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Nicole?
Tony Santiago.
We'll do that right after this meeting.
Mr. Santiago, weren't you were signed up to speak tonight? Okay. Okay, now is your time. I try to be even and fair.
First time since I did 1994, and I'm dismayed because the political officials, and I'll start with my own board, our community association, have taken the bait. And it's a bait that this developer wants us to take. They want to divide us. They want to separate us. And there's no population here that I've spoken to that says, yes, we want to double the number of units in our housing. Again, we will have double. One over this before. You can get over with me the facts whenever you want. You can't handle it. They want you to get wedges. Okay, they could be anything else behind the gate. While this communication is speaking for all of us, you all think that don't live there, that we support this. We do not support what they did. There's no way. Their excuse is there's a diversity of constituents. You want to know what? There's two constituents, right? There's art, the commercial, and there's all the rest. Including investors. Do you think investors want them to put 700 more bedrooms in there and compete with them? And then force them to use their property management company, or they don't get a sports card, charging them 30–40% more than everybody else? Do you really think the investors want that? No, they do not. The threats that were made are ridiculous. First threat was they won't put money in to maintain it. Well, guess what? The last time they did anything that wasn't related to the hotel was 2015. Only when the golf course was threatened because they had to repurpose the third hole and fix one hole. That was it. Since the new ownership, nothing has gone to the residents at all. In fact, go look at our tennis courts and see what they did for us, okay? So that threat is useless. They are not maintaining anything, and they're not going to, okay, period. Now, they're gonna throw you some bones like they do in Grand Cayman. Just read the information, folks, okay? And tease you for a while, but they're just like leading you into the trap, okay? It's not there. Litigation, you were scared of litigation? You know, man, you guys in business? Come on, everybody threatens litigation. You have a solid case here. This is a rezoning situation. It's due to the density. Does anybody not think we would win that case? Drive here in the summer. They're doing 2,000 residents a day at peak season, 800 to 850 employees. If you double the number of rooms, how many more employees? How many more visitors? Can we handle it? No. Enough is enough. I hope you don't take the bait. Don't drive away. We are not divided. Your citizens are not divided. You can try to be dividing yourself, but you're not representing us then. And do not go to a task force. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to think about it. This is not a task force. But
I'm getting yelled at.
Randy Bell.
Hearing that people online can't hear. I don't know.
I want to thank Councilmember Hahn. The one thing this process and procedure does not call for is a task force. So just to be clear, it is not in the city code. So in January of 2022, IOP Council unanimously adopted a strategic plan for the year 22 through 27. It was the work product of the previous council and the Joe Riley Center for Livable Communities. Public input was close to 20%, which was a record public input, where we reached out directly to the citizens of the island. The mission statement was to be the most sustainable, family-friendly beach community in South Carolina. The vision, a welcoming, environmentally conscious, and resilient coastal community committed to enhancing the quality of life for those who come here to live, work, and play. The goals and priorities: reduce the impact of tourism on the quality of life for residents, and to improve traffic flow and patterns for road safety. During my council tenure, I sat up here and explicitly recall telling Dan Batista from the Low Corporation, I've yet to meet a resident who wants your hotel. There was promises that it wouldn't spill over on Palm Boulevard, that 135 parking places would be enough, and now we have a saturated Palm Boulevard that's nothing more than a parking lot for the hotel. Your job as elected officials is to act on the behalf of public safety and livability, and to ensure that all council decisions are in the best interest of the entire community. Nowhere in IOP's strategic plan does it state except in conflicts with the parochial interests of a private community. The Lodestar commercial interests of the Wildlands Community Association are not the concerns of IOP City Council, nor are they bargaining chips for negotiation. It's been published, letters that Mayor Pounce has sent. I'm not going to read this, I was going to, but it's very concerning when the mayor sends letters out to citizens that talk about, if we don't do this, they're not going to invest in my golf course or my walkovers or my pools or my infrastructure. No offense. And I love Wild Dunes. Been going there since '91. Not my problem. It's not the community's problem. That is an issue between Wild Dunes Community Association and their manager developer, nothing more. I looked at, I get all the time, everybody says, well, you know, so-and-so should recuse it. Well, having sat there, the recusal law is pretty lame. It does see code 8-13-700B. Recusal is a self-inflicted desire, right? If you feel the need to recuse yourself from a vote, you do that. There is nothing compelling you to do that. But I got to tell you, when I hear Wild Dunes community members that sit on this council placing the interest of their private community above the interest of the entire community, I have a huge concern with that. And I think that you should look in the mirror and decide whether or not you should take a vote on something that is not in this community's interest. I think we've had close to 700 signatures on a written petition. I don't think anyone that I'm aware of has said, hey, let's lead from this meeting and let's create a task force of people that we did not elect to represent us. So please take that to heart. People like me, I don't enjoy coming here over and over again. This feels like Groundhog Day.
Mr. Bell.
I keep being asked, you know, when am I going to stop? And I'll stop when council listens to the people that take their time to come here and plead with the council that we elected to do the right thing. Thank you.
Elizabeth Campson.
John, are we,
This might what I again. Here, wait a minute. Test, test, test.
Let's speak right into the microphone. Okay, here we go.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity provided for a public hearing on the proposed zoning ordinances.
Pass it. Lights on.
Can I give her theirs?
There you go.
There you go.
Couldn't allow-
Okay.
There you go.
I think that's good. That's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Mhm.
I hear myself. To quote Dr. McLeod, Chair of the College of Charleston's Hospitality and Tourism Management Department, who spoke to the city in July of this year, zoning is a powerful tool. I first read the Wild Dunes PRD document after the Sweetgrass Inn plans were presented to our Planning Commission in October of 2017. It struck me at the time that the stated purpose to create a recreational-oriented residential community with a limited transient footprint had changed along the way. I also recognize that the document itself was dated, weak, and hadn't kept up with the changing dynamics of our island. The majority of the property on our island is privately held. We all have zoning ordinances that impact the use of our property. That's the purpose of zoning. Again, zoning is a powerful tool. The theoretical development the PRD proposed is not the actual development that exists. We are long past time for a comprehensive review of the PRD and the enactment of zoning amendments that bring it out of the 70s and in line with our current landscape. Today, we face challenges in stormwater management, traffic, seasonal visitation, and more that didn't exist in 1975. Our new strategic plan is aimed at, among other things, reducing the impact of tourism on the quality of life of residents, improving traffic flow, and becoming an environmentally resilient community. All of those goals are addressed by passing these ordinances. One other goal, ironically, is to increase citizen engagement. Here we are. Yeah. We must protect the fragile balance we have. Clearly, you recognize the role you play in protecting the public health, safety, welfare, and general convenience of the residents of the Isle of Palms when you invoked the pending ordinance doctrine and brought these ordinances forward. I sincerely believe this is a defining moment in our shared island life. The facts and law are in your favor. You are charged with enacting the best possible zoning for the changing face of our community. These ordinances collectively accomplish that. We are here to support you in this effort in any way we can and for as long as you need. It's timely, it's prudent, and it's necessary.
Thank you. Bev Miller.
Council. Bev Miller, Fairway Village Lane. I'm speaking on behalf of Barrier Island Preservation Alliance. These ordinances are about our ability as a city to regulate land use and development within our boundaries. And as population and resulting infrastructure needs change, so should outdated ordinances that are there to protect and preserve the character of the city. This is not the first time in our city's history that the zoning ordinance will be changed, and is very likely it will not be the last. The fact that there are no permits pending on any of these properties makes this the perfect time to do it. We all live under restrictions. I want to add more living space on my property. And if my grandiose plan does not fall within zoning regulations, I will follow the process to either request a variance or I will change it so it does meet the zoning rules. After this ordinance is passed, that is still the process that any property owner would follow. Focus on what you can do for the greater good of the island, not on political pressure from one property owner. Tonight, I intended to submit the petitions this community has gathered over the past 2 weeks. However, and we have a second public hearing that gives us more time, and I will present those at the November 1st hearing. To date, this community effort has gathered 752 resident signatures in support of the ordinances. The petition is intended to be a public purpose petition, and as such, the signatures are those of all property owners, the majority of which are full-time residents. All property owners have a vested interest in this city through the investment that we all made when we purchased our properties. We are all resident owners with property rights, and we want you to rely on your own strategic plan and your comp plan in order to give you a defensible legal position, as well as the political will to cast your favorable vote, not out of fear of litigation, but with the confidence that this is a strategic step to improve our zoning regulations to protect the established character and the value of the island according to our 2022 environment and infrastructure, instead of what existed 47 years ago. Thank you.
Jeff Simon.
One of the great pleasures of living here is that when you speak to council, you're speaking to friends. And
Mr. Simon, if you could please speak into the microphone.
I should have
Perfect.
done better. I was a high school teacher. I should know
Say
better.
that again, Jeff.
Yeah. One of the great pleasures of living on this island is that when you speak to council, to the government, you're speaking to friends, you're speaking to acquaintances, and that's a good thing. I do, however, have to take an issue with one thing that was said at the last meeting, the first reading, where one member of this council created a false narrative that I think is hurtful to this situation. That member said they took our golf course. Town of Mount Pleasant took a golf course. Well, John Wheel and Holmes certainly think they did. And they went to the South Carolina Supreme Court to try to get a correction on that. But the South Carolina Supreme Court unanimously said that Mount Pleasant had acted within a legitimate function of local government, that they were reacting to situation that they could see, and that zoning and land use planning is a prime function of local government. And I think that by creating the sense that there was a heavy-handed illegal action similar to the one that we're considering here, does exactly what Mr. Santiago was telling us to be careful of. It sets one group of people against the other, and that's not helpful. Zoning and the issue that you're looking at is a legitimate function of this government. It requires sensible action and well thought out planning, but it is something you need to do. And it's something that should be done as a united group, crafting the best possible zoning you can so that it could withstand litigation if it comes to that. So I would hope that everybody would disabuse themselves of the fact that anything inappropriate was done in that similar case or would be done in this case. Second thing I want to say is that in all my time on this island, nobody has ever run saying, hey, I'm for more development. Everybody always says, I'm for residents. I'm for the quality of life. I'm for this wonderful island where we all just, drift around living in our wonderful environment. And it's almost true. But those of you who've been here any period of time can tell that it's drifting away from us. And it could drift away from us very fast, particularly as the community around us grows, puts more pressure on us. And we need to respond to that. And we need to respond to that as a united group. And all of you, every one of you sitting up there and everybody who's run before you has said, I'm for residential quality. You could go back and listen to every single solitary candidate tonight, and that's what you will hear. Nobody says that developers need better representation. They got legal firms that they can be represented by. You are our defenders, and we need you to do that. We need you to be united. We need you to be forceful, and we need you when you get to the fork in the road where the tough decision comes to know where you're going. And where you all have said you're going is to improve and maintain residential quality, and we will hold you to that. Thank you.
Brian Duffy. Please make sure you speak directly into the microphone, Mr. Duffy.
Certainly.
Thank you.
First of all, amen to Jeff. Amen to Jeff. Brian Duffy, 3613 Waterway Boulevard. I want to begin by thanking council for the hard work you do to keep the lights on our island paradise. Also, I want you to know that I am emphatically in favor of the ordinances that passed first reading on October 11, 2022. I do think that 3 lots should be added to the ordinance, and those are the marina, the recreation center, and the county park. But my purpose here tonight is to address a topic that was broached by a council member at last Tuesday's meeting: property rights. His soliloquy presumed that we all understand what property rights are and what he means by property rights. So what exactly are property rights? According to one economist, quote, "A property right is the exclusive authority to determine how a resource is used, whether that resource is owned by government or by individuals. Society approves the use selected by the holder of the property right with governmental administered force and with social ostracism." Now, of course, examples of property are cars, boats, real estate, homes, lots, things like that. Property rights are the rights associated with these items, but primarily it is a right to buy, sell, and hold that property, and it is limited by the responsibilities in its use. So take owning a car, for example. You have the right to park in your driveway. You have the right to drive it on public thoroughfares as long as you have a license, but you don't have the right to park it and leave it in the middle of Palm Boulevard. And you don't have the right to go speeding down Palm Boulevard at 50 miles an hour. You have the right to drive your car here in South Carolina as long as you have liability and uninsured motorist insurance coverage. Without it, you still have the right to keep your car parked in your driveway. Rights do not exist in a vacuum as an entity unto themselves. They exist as half of an equation. Rights equal responsibilities. Property rights equal zoning. I wish I had not heard that council member express his personal experience regarding property rights and zoning in Mount Pleasant. It makes me wonder if he can rise above his personal trauma and be objective in response to the needs of the community he has sworn to serve. Maybe a recusal is in order. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Lovins.
See her. Didn't see her upstairs.
Okay.
She may be upstairs, and if she is, we can go through with the
Okay.
next speaker
Okay.
and she can come in afterwards.
Carly David.
Oh, there she
There's
is.
Laura.
There's Laura.
Carly, hang on.
Ms. Levin, if you adjust that microphone for yourself, yeah,
I
speak
sure
right
will.
into it.
There we
Thank you.
go. Good evening. My name is Laura Lovins, and I live at 5 Links Clubhouse Court in Wild Dunes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to read a statement that is on the IOP Council website. The Isle of Palm City Council vision statement is to be, and I quote, "a welcoming, environmentally conscious, and resilient coastal community committed to enhancing the quality of life for those who come here to live, work, and play." And the top 2 priorities and goals that the council put forward for the 2022-2027 term is number 1, to reduce the impact of tourism on the quality of life for residents, and number 2, to improve the traffic flow and patterns for road safety. The IOP Council and Mayor are elected officials whose duty is to represent the best and highest interests of their constituents, the residents and property owners of the Isle of Palms. DART Enterprises is a mega developer. Their interests are with making money, and their bottom line is about profit. They must answer to their board of directors and their stockholders and investors to make good on their promises. The quality of life for IOP residents and property owners cannot be negotiated under any circumstances. It is time for the IOP Council and Mayor to stand up for us and to honor their vision statement and their top 2 priorities and move forward with passing all 5 revised zoning ordinances to protect IOP from further development. Thank you very much.
Carly.
Right in front of the microphone.
Okay. Henry David Thoreau said that heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. And our little island is certainly a part of heaven, and we need to protect it. My name is Carly David, and my husband Steve and I have lived on the island, have been residents since 1981. We've raised our children here, and in fact, one of our sons has brought his family, and they live here as well. Since the early 80s, we also have owned and managed a couple of rental properties, only a golf cart away from our own home. So we understand several sides of this. We personally have witnessed many changes that have occurred over the years with both perspectives. As a resident and as a property manager, I am here not as an adversary, but as an advocate. Together, we all have to make sure that this issue is dealt with so that the island that we know will not change. Both as a resident and a rental homeowner, I realize we need to protect what open space remains and protect us from overdevelopment. Our island is already stressed and is pushing limits of its infrastructure, which is why the council, as somebody else had already mentioned, has already had other zoning ordinances limiting the hotels in the front beach and reducing the non-porous materials and so forth. We are now feeling the impacts of the newly operational hotel in Wild Dunes as well. And that's brought more traffic, more parking issues, more people demanding more services. And it's not just happening here. It's happening in Charleston, Sullivan's Island, Mount Pleasant, and Folly. And they are all instituting ordinances in their land as their landscape and their pressure changes. They are being proactive. We should be. The prior pattern of island rentals was a long time ago because we've done this for so long. It used to be a few people locally rented their houses out to family, to friends, and it was just sort of the way it was for a long time. And then all of a sudden, not just here, but everywhere, the tourist home rental model became a corporate business model that if it's not harnessed at this point, it's going to perhaps overwhelm any small community. A company that wants to develop further on this island is a multi-billion-dollar business, and it has one thing in mind, and it ain't the people living on IOP. They are in the business of making money, as they should be. They're a business, and we are in the business of making money, but they don't have a vested interest in this community. Look no further than the developments in both Florida and the Cayman Islands, where they have gobbled up land and property and continue to do so. They have a business model that is diametrically opposed to the foundations of a residential community.
Ms. David, you'll need to wrap this up, please.
Okay. Actions that we have seen that. I truly believe that less government is the best government, and I'm a property rights supporter, but we all have rules and regulations, as you've heard. Gandhi said, the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Corporate greed is like a cancer, and I'm almost finished. And if it's left unchecked, it will spread. And like a cancer, if you catch it in the early stages, you have a better chance of survival. Here is our chance. You all have the opportunity and the backing of your constituents to stop this spread right now. Protect us, protect our environment, and please vote for the ordinances. Otherwise, we will not have an island that we recognize. Thank you.
Brenda Rosenthal. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Brenda Bennett Rosenthal from 3013 Waterway. It's a tough act to follow, everybody. They were great. They gave you a lot of information. First, I want to thank all of you guys for your service because I feel like this has become a full-time job for me. And I'm not official on anything. Just trying to watch what you guys do. I voted for most of you up there. You're my friends and neighbors. And I voted for you because you all, even Kevin, said that you were here to represent the residents and that you could take your developer's cap off to do that.
Hey, Brenda, sorry.
I'm sorry, okay. There are places in the world that become very popular for tourists, and it's partially because of the culture of those places. Anthropologists define culture as shared set of values, ideas, concepts, and rules of behavior that allow a group to function and perpetuate itself. It's what the Isle of Palms is. It's what the Isle of Palms is. Everybody here knows it. They feel it. We have 4.4 square miles of land and 1 square mile of marsh. That's it. That's all we got. We started as a simple barrier island years ago. I'm a native, Charleston native, born and raised here. It was sleepy. It was hard to get to. It was a second home for Charlestonians. And surely that has changed a lot. Have we been good stewards of this little island? If so, we might be ahead of the game in managing many issues, including but not limited to tourism, traffic, density, parking, flooding, septic, and the new and ever blossoming short-term rental industry, which Scarlett, Carly, and others spoke about. All of these issues relating to the quality of life for residents, which is your stated vision and mission, yours. The council stated that. The answers lie not in increasing security and enforcing rules and regulations, but in increasing neighbors. Neighbors who live here, who love it here, are kind, appreciative, and have responsibilities to their community. How did we get to the place where I have to explain the difference between a neighbor and a short-term renter? Because when I try to say it, people say, well, you just get the cops there if they're misbehaving. I mean, how did we get to that place where a person's home is not valued as a home, but as a business model? Where a council who was elected to represent our best interest is even considering negotiating with a developer before they have these ordinances in place. Because as I understand it, just a few people don't like the condition of the amenities in Wild Inns. Well, guess what? That's not our problem. It's not our problem, and it should be not a forwarding thought on your part as you negotiate. How could there even be a question to that tonight? You are our council, our elected officials, our neighbors, our friends. Please do your duty with us in mind and this beautiful little slice of paradise that we get to call home. Please educate yourselves if you haven't already and fight to protect this community. Wild Dunes Community Association's fight to upgrade their amenities is a totally different issue. I respectfully and forcefully ask of this council that you acknowledge the PRD zoning written in 1975 as outdated and does not represent the current interest of your residents. Please pass these ordinances before you begin any negotiations. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. That's the first 9 that signed up. I know we've got an overflow crowd upstairs. If there's somebody that would like to start making their way down to make a presentation or make a comment, that would be great. If there's somebody in the room that didn't sign up that would like to make a comment. Far away, Susie.
Hi, I'm Susie Wheeler. I'm not sure why there's a meeting to discuss a task force.
Ms.
because-
Wheeler, do you mind stating your name and address to the record, please?
Susie Wheeler, 3205 Hartnett.
Thank you.
Again, I'm not sure why we're having a meeting to discuss a task force because as I understood it, this council is the task force that we elected to represent us. Last week, there was overwhelming support for these ordinances. Standing room only, people were turned away, their petitions, Wild Dunes and Isle of Palms residents alike are all in agreement. The overdevelopment needs to be checked. We're currently dealing with sewer issues, drainage problems, traffic issues, just to name a few, and that's without any additional development. The mayor that I supported had numerous campaign meetings with and spoke of putting his own agenda aside and doing what the residents wanted. Residents are telling you what they want. I hope you're listening, because so far it seems like the agenda is not what the residents want, and it certainly needs to be. Right now, the residents are showing up in force and telling you what they want. You need to start listening to us and living up to your campaign platform. Thank you.
Others in the room, or again, if someone's upstairs that would like to make their way down, we'll give you a moment or two. Anyone else in the room while we're waiting?
If you don't mind waiting maybe a
Yeah.
minute or two.
For
to
upstairs,
see if
yep.
somebody's coming.
Wait, you think?
No. Oh,
No, the elevator is slow sometimes.
See if anybody wants to come back up. It's hard.
Yeah, all right. Again, any one of the 9 that spoke earlier, if you'd like to have additional comments, that would be great. Again, open mic night.
nobody upstairs coming.
Oh,
Tony?
Mr. Santiago, if you don't mind speaking directly into the mic.
I can do that.
Thank you.
So first off, I do appreciate everybody on the council. I know this is a job I would never. And so God bless you all. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Now we
Okay,
can.
gotta get closer. No problem. So first off, I just want to let everybody know, we at Wild Dunes are okay. We'll take care of ourselves. Don't worry about us. We will deal with DART on our terms with a new board if need be, but it will get done. Trust me. There's enough frustration there to blow a top in this building right now. We deal with it every day. We see how they treat us. You don't get to see that. That resort, those ownership, it is a different animal in the last 5 years. I can give you a litany of what they've done and how they've done it, how we've been treated. We just don't want you guys to have to inherit our headaches because they are headaches, trust me. So I just wanted everybody to know, relax, don't worry about us. We're good. Okay, big guy? Yeah, everybody there, we'll take care of ourselves there. You guys need to vote, and you need to vote this through. You don't need to sit here and tell us it's 6 months. And no, the administrative process does not take 6 months. You can drag it out for 6 months, but it doesn't take 6 months. So we are going to watch, every one of us are going to watch, and we are uniform. We're unified. There is no division. Anybody speak for DART yet in these meetings? Anybody want to bet, other than DART representatives who won't show up probably, won't come to the November one either? They spoke with me personally. I figured they were going to show up at this meeting. No, neither Lowe's or DART did. But they did maneuver behind the scenes, which is what they're trying to do. They maneuvered at the board at Wild Dunes Community Association and maneuvered with some of the people here on the council to try to get their position to be reasonable. It is not reasonable. They don't have a say in this. You have the say in this. You can rezone. You choose not to, that's up to you individually. But for God's sakes, do not procrastinate on this process and do not drag task force into this. One more time, do not go there. It is not in our best interest. Thank you.
Brian?
I just want everybody on the council to realize that yes, this has to still go back to the planning commission. However, historically on this island, the planning commission is where things went to die. Please do not let that happen. Set a deadline, get the response back, and please do your job. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Tom Schmidt. I live at 50 Ocean Point Drive, and I'm on the HOA board in Ocean Point. And as Tony said, we're doing some things to take care of ourselves. 2 weeks ago, or about 3 weeks ago now, Ocean Point completed a ballot. We had 86% affirmatives in Ocean Point to put two bylaw amendments on the ballots. The one pertains to the sale of some common grounds, which are non-buildable, just areas that need to be maintained. But the most important one was that we passed an amendment that prohibits any entity, related entities, heirs of entities ad infinitum can own no more than one property in Ocean Point. And the purpose of that is to limit DART and other commercial developers from taking over the community, the board, et cetera. So that we expect will spread through the other regimes. You know, I just want to say something to all of you. Certainly, thank you for your service. I've been on a lot of boards and wouldn't consider doing this like you do here again. But what's happening is there's a lot of anger forming in the community, and some of it, quite a bit, it's being directed at all of you. Some of you more than others. You know, in the coffee clutches, you know, as we have get-togethers and everything, the board is the board that, and that's a very sad and uncomfortable thing. And unfortunately, I guess I say a few things myself. But what happens when I come here and I see it tonight is, as the speakers speak and your constituents tell you how they're feeling and what they collectively would like to see done, there doesn't seem to be a lot of recognition from some of you. I mean, I see some individuals nod their heads regularly and seeing this, that, and the other, and others kind of like, well, you can talk all you want, but I'm not changing my mind. We're not here to change anybody's mind. Other than to ask you to live up to what you all campaigned on. And again, I could go down the line here, and I remember, Mr. Mayor, particularly, you talking about being a consolidator and your business experiences and this, that, and the other. And
Mr. Schmidt, I
I
need
think
you to
you've
wrap
done
up
it.
your comments, please.
Okay, great job of, you know, doing that on the board. But I don't think you're growing us in. And so kind of just somebody ought to talk one of these days at one of these meetings rather than do it in executive session, say, yeah, here's what we're thinking. Here's what we're going to do, you know, and let's forget about this second meeting and the task force and the rest of that stuff. You are the task force. We already elected you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Other comments?
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment? Just to you, in regards to our next meeting coming up, I just think it's in order if we can, because that meeting, you know, got posted yesterday afternoon. So the meeting we have at 6, I think probably anyone who wanted to make public comments at that meeting could not have met the deadline that was posted. So I just would hope that it would be in order to invite anyone that's here or anyone listening who want to stay for the second meeting and make a comment, they're welcome to do so. Okay.
Good point. Yep. One last call. There being no further business,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.